At Millstone High School, the students whispered legends about the mysterious power of the school's computer system. Teachers treated it like a fortress. Every password was guarded, every login was monitored, and the school's technology coordinator, Mr. Hawkins, was known to stroll the halls with a clipboard like a warden in a prison. The students swore he could detect if someone even thought about misusing a school laptop. But one student, Jason Miller, was not intimidated. Jason was a quiet junior who loved coding and tinkering with technology. He was not a troublemaker. He was the type of kid who built websites for fun and wrote simple apps to keep track of his homework assignments. Still, he had a mischievous streak, and when the opportunity presented itself, he could not resist. The opportunity came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Jason was in the library, finishing his history essay, when he noticed the librarian had left her computer unlocked, while she went to shelve books. A wave of curiosity hit him. He was not planning to do anything destructive, of course. He was not interested in stealing grades or accessing private files. That sort of behavior belonged to hackers in movies. No, Jason wanted to see if he could slip past the system just enough to make a harmless mark something funny, something that would make the other students laugh. He cracked his knuckles dramatically, even though no one was watching. Within minutes, he opened a few system menus, tested a couple of commands, realized with shock that the school's supposedly invincible firewall was not quite as invincible as everyone thought. It turned out the biggest secret in Millstone High's network was that it was actually pretty easy to navigate. If you knew what you were doing, Jason's heart pounded. This was his chance. He could change grades, alter attendance records, or peek at confidential teacher files. But he was not interested in chaos. It felt wrong, and besides, he did not want to get expelled. Instead, he decided on a simple plan. He would change the desktop background on every school computer. Nothing harmful, nothing permanent, just an inside joke for the students. He thought for a while about the image. It needed to be funny but not offensive, memorable but not cruel. Finally, he found the perfect one, a giant photo of the school mascot, the Millstone Marmot, but with laser beams shooting out of its eyes. He had made the image as a joke months ago for his friends. Now it would become his signature move. Within half an hour, Jason had written a short script and uploaded the file across the network. The effect would not be immediate. It would activate the next morning when the computers were turned on. With that done, he quietly logged off and went home, his heart still racing. The next day, chaos erupted in the computer labs. Students who logged in for their first period classes stared at their screens in disbelief. Instead of the bland blue wallpaper that had greeted them for years, they were faced with a giant glowing-eyed marmot staring into their souls. Word spread quickly through the halls. By second period, everyone was talking about the Great Marmot hack. Reactions varied. Some students laughed so hard they nearly cried. Others started chanting, "Fear the Marmot," in the cafeteria. Teachers, however, were less amused. Mr. Hawkins marched from classroom to classroom, inspecting computers like a detective at a crime scene. He barked orders at confused students and scribbled notes furiously on his clipboard. "Whoever did this will be found," he declared over the morning announcements. "Tampering with school property is a serious offense." Jason sat in his seat trying to look as innocent as possible, but inside he was panicking. He had not expected the reaction to be this big. He thought a few people would notice and chuckle. He had not imagined the entire school turning it into a phenomenon. Now he worried that he would be caught and punished. By lunch, the marmot had become legendary. Someone printed T-shirts with the laser-eyed creature and sold them in the cafeteria. Another student started a chant at the pep rally. "Marmot? Marmot." Even the principal, Mr. Dalton, admitted with a reluctant smile that the image was strangely creative. But Mr. Hawkins was relentless. Pored over log files, tracked login attempts, and grilled students for information. Jason's friends nudged him under the table and whispered, "Was this you? You have to tell me?" Jason shook his head furiously, denying everything, though his flushed face gave him away. Days passed, and still the investigation continued. Jason considered confessing, but before he could, something unexpected happened. The student council wrote a petition asking the administration to keep the marmot background permanently. They argued that it boosted school spirit, gave students a sense of unity, and was far more interesting than the boring blue screen. To Jason's shock, hundreds of students signed. The administration reluctantly agreed. As long as the image was not inappropriate, they saw no harm. The marmot background became official. Overnight, Jason's little prank turned into a school tradition. Though he never admitted it publicly, everyone suspected Jason was behind it. They called him Marmot Man in the hallways. Instead of being angry, most teachers treated it like a harmless bit of school history. Even Mr. Hawkins eventually gave up the hunt, though he muttered darkly about irresponsible programming. Years later, when Jason graduated, the computer lab still bore the glowing-eyed Marmot wallpaper. New students carried on the legend, never quite sure who had started it, but always smiling when they turned on the computers. Jason had hacked the system, yes, but only to make people laugh. And in the end, that was the best hack of all.